My cherished soul, listen closely because what I am about to reveal carries a vibration that shakes the unseen world around you. Archangel Michael steps forward with a blazing sword of truth, whispering a message that arrives like a sudden thunder strike in a quiet sky. There are 3 hours left. A letter with shocking news about your inheritance is arriving. You won't believe who sent it. Open it immediately. This is not a normal warning. This is not a casual nudge. This is a timed revelation, sealed in the realms you cannot see yet, but already moving toward you. For many of you watching right now, something in your spirit just reacted as if a code inside you recognized this moment. And that's because Archangel Michael has been watching a battle over what belongs to you, your birthright, your blessings, your inheritance that was delayed, blocked, or hidden. He says a letter has already been released in the spirit, and it carries shocking news. News that exposes something or someone you never expected. Someone connected to your past, your family, your destiny, or even your name. And they tried to keep something from reaching you. But heaven has intervened. Before you scroll away, breathe for a moment because the next lines unlock the reason this message reached you today. A shift has begun around your household. Archangel Michael reveals that the place you are living in right now, this house, this room, this atmosphere, has been holding echoes of unspoken things. Papers left unsigned, promises left hanging, secrets buried. He says the spiritual dust is about to shake loose. And the timing. 3 hours. A divine countdown. Not a limit but a marker that heaven is speaking now. You may have felt confusion lately. Why certain blessings seemed so close yet slipped away. Why people who smiled acted strangely behind your back. Why opportunities hovered but didn't land. Archangel Michael explains, because something connected to your inheritance was being tampered with in silence. Something that bore your name yet was touched by hands that had no authority. But everything changes once this letter arrives. The letter is symbolic for some, literal for others, but its truth is universal. A revelation about what is rightfully yours is coming. Unexpected, unfiltered, undeniable. And the sender. That's where the shock lies. Heaven says it is someone you never imagined would step forward, someone who once walked away, someone who once doubted you, or someone who was part of a chapter you thought was closed forever. Archangel Michael is clearing the path for this message to reach you without interference. He stands guard at your doorstep, not the physical one alone, but the spiritual gate that surrounds your life. With every strike of his sword, he cuts away old blockages, old shadows, old lies. He is preparing you to receive what was already written for you long before any human hand tried to hide it. Feel this. Your name is being spoken in rooms you have not entered. Your favor is being written onto documents you have not touched. Your breakthrough is moving toward you with a speed that does not feel natural, because it isn't. It is supernatural. And as this revelation approaches, you may sense a stirring inside you, an inner knowing that something is shifting. That is Archangel Michael aligning your spirit so you do not miss the moment when heaven calls your name. Stay with me now because this is where the intensity rises. He says the letter does more than deliver news. It exposes the one who tried to block it. It reveals the truth behind delays. It brings light into the corners where deception lives. You won't believe who sent it, because heaven is using an unlikely vessel to carry a divine message. Someone either once connected to your lineage or your destiny path will become the key that unlocks what was withheld. And the timing, 3 hours, is not random. It is a spiritual countdown announcing the arrival of truth. Some of you will soon get a notification, a message, a call, an email, a memory triggered, or a sudden sign that confirms this prophecy is active over your life. Pay attention. The next hours will not be ordinary. Before you step ahead, hear this whisper from Michael. Do not fear what is coming. What comes now restores what was taken. Stand still in the light, for justice is rising on your behalf. Hold on, because the next revelation will deepen this message in a way that might shake you. The story behind this inheritance is bigger than you think, and the spiritual twist is something you've never expected. Type "I receive my inheritance" in the comments if this message touches your spirit. Blessing code 144 is now activated. And lean in, because what unfolds next will open a door you never realized was waiting for you. My radiant spirit, lean closer, because Archangel Michael is not finished speaking. He steps forward again, his presence sharper, clearer, almost urgent. There is a weight in the air around you right now, a spiritual density that forms when truth is preparing to break through resistance. He says that the letter carrying shocking news about your inheritance is not just a message. It is a spiritual event unfolding behind the veil. And the moment you heard the words 3 hours left, something activated in the realm surrounding your life. A countdown began, not only in time, but in atmosphere, in alignment, in revelation. This is why your heart feels unusually alert right now. Heaven is drawing your attention with purpose. Archangel Michael reveals that before the letter arrives, there is a hidden layer of truth you must understand. Someone connected to your past tried to intercept a blessing meant for you. They believed you were unprepared, unworthy, unaware. They thought you would never find out. But heaven has been watching every detail, every decision, every whisper spoken behind closed doors. Nothing has been hidden from the eyes of the Archangel assigned to guard your divine inheritance. And now, the moment has come where the truth cannot be delayed any longer. He shows an image of a sealed envelope glowing with spiritual light, carrying your name in a way that cannot be erased. This envelope represents more than information. It carries justice, restoration, and divine reversal. Something that once slipped out of your hands is returning, but not in the same form. It is returning with multiplied strength and with heaven's signature upon it. A letter may manifest for you as a message, a conversation, an unexpected opportunity, a confession, or a document, something that shifts your understanding of what is truly yours. Michael says the center of this revelation is not who you expect. It is someone whose role in your life was not random. Someone who was once part of your story, even if only briefly, will now become part of your breakthrough. There are times when heaven uses unlikely vessels so that you know the message did not come from human intention, but divine orchestration. This is one of those moments. Someone who once kept silent will speak. Someone who once walked away will return with truth. Someone who once stood at a distance will now carry a key that unlocks your next season. This is why the spiritual atmosphere in your house has been restless. You may have felt unusual tension, sudden fatigue, random memories resurfacing, or a quiet sense that something was shifting behind the scenes. These were signs that the old spiritual structures around your inheritance were cracking. Michael says the walls that held your blessing in place have weakened. Resistance is collapsing, and the truth is preparing to break through, like light pouring through a doorway that has been forced open. He warns you of something important. Just before revelation arrives, confusion often tries to distract the spirit. You may notice sudden doubts, unusual worries, or unexplained emotional heaviness. This is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something is nearing completion. Spiritual opposition always intensifies in the final moments before divine truth reaches its destination. Michael is clearing the interference so your spirit can recognize the signs without fear. Now, listen carefully to this whisper he places in your soul. Do not underestimate the importance of timing. What arrives within these hours is not arriving late. It is arriving right on schedule. Every delay that frustrated you, every moment that made you question your path, every door that closed unexpectedly, was part of a carefully aligned sequence leading to this revelation. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing has been missed. Nothing has been forgotten. Heaven has been assembling your breakthrough piece by piece, just out of sight. And now, as your inheritance prepares to reveal itself, Michael stretches his wings over your dwelling place, declaring protection over every message meant for you. No interference shall touch what is coming. No confusion shall distort it. No darkness shall cover it. What is yours is arriving unblocked, undeniable, and unmistakable. There is another layer to this revelation. The person who sends this message is themselves moved by a force they cannot fully explain. Something is stirring their conscience, their memory, or their sense of responsibility. Heaven is pressing upon them, urging them to act, to speak, to reveal. Their role in this moment is not accidental. They are being positioned as a messenger of truth, even if they do not understand the spiritual magnitude of what they are carrying. And you, the one receiving this revelation, are stepping into a space where destiny unfolds in real time. Archangel Michael stands behind you, not as a distant guardian, but as an active force shaping the circumstances around your inheritance. He says, prepare your heart. What comes will change how you see yourself, how you see your past, and how you step into your future. Before this moment passes, take a breath and allow your spirit to absorb the weight of what you have just heard. A door has opened, and the next shift will be even stronger. What is approaching you carries both truth and transformation. Hold steady right now, because the story behind the inheritance is far deeper than you realize, and the next revelation will expose what has been hidden for far too long. You are standing at the edge of something life-altering. Type "I open the door of truth" in the comments if this resonates deeply. Blessing code 229 has now been released. My awakened soul, something powerful stirs around you now, as if the air itself is preparing to speak. Archangel Michael moves closer with a fierceness that signals a deeper unveiling. He says the moment you heard about the letter containing shocking news about your inheritance, your spirit began to realign with a destiny that was delayed but never denied. This next layer is heavier, more intimate, more revealing. It dives into the hidden motivations and unseen forces that have been influencing your life without your awareness. And he warns that what you are about to learn may feel intense, but it is necessary for the breakthrough that is already approaching you. Michael reveals that there has been a silent watcher in your story, someone who observed your journey from a distance, someone who knew more about your inheritance than you ever realized. Their silence was not neutral. Their absence was not accidental. They carried knowledge that could have changed your life sooner, yet they withheld it. Heaven has tolerated this withholding only because divine timing required that you be spiritually matured, strengthened, and prepared before certain truths reached your hands. But now the hour has shifted. The countdown has begun. The truth that was once delayed is now being pushed forward by the force of heaven itself. He shows a vision of a corridor filled with closed doors. Some doors represent missed opportunities, some represent delayed blessings, and some represent betrayals you never uncovered. One of these doors begins to glow, brighter and brighter, until its light spills onto the floor. Michael says this is the door connected to your inheritance, and it is opening because the person holding the key has finally been compelled by spirit to step forward. They resisted for years, even decades in some cases. They carried guilt, fear, or confusion about revealing what they knew. but the pressure of heaven has reached them, and they can no longer remain silent. This person is the unexpected sender of the message. Not an enemy, but not entirely a friend. Not someone you think about daily, yet not a stranger. They lived in the shadow between your past and your purpose. And Archangel Michael says their role, though flawed, was always part of a divine arrangement. Heaven kept them in your story because they were destined to deliver a piece of truth at the exact moment when you would be ready to receive it. Their hesitation was human, but their timing is divine. Michael continues by revealing the emotional weight tied to this inheritance. It is not merely physical or financial. It is spiritual, generational, and deeply connected to your identity. There are blessings tied to your name that were meant to empower your life long before now, but confusion infiltrated your lineage. Someone in your family, lineage, or soul path mishandled something sacred. Promises were broken. Agreements were altered. Documents were misplaced. Energies were tampered with. And because of this, your inheritance was scattered into spiritual fragments across time. But the letter symbolizes the gathering of these pieces, a return to wholeness, a recovery of what was lost, a restoration of what once slipped through the cracks of destiny. Michael says the battle over your inheritance was not just earthly, it was spiritual. Darkness tried to cloud your awareness so you would never seek, never question, never claim. But heaven has never been outmatched. Every attempt to block you has been recorded, confronted, and dismantled. The reason this message found you today is because your spirit has entered the stage of recognition. Awareness is rising. Discernment is sharpening. You are no longer standing outside your destiny. You are stepping toward the door that is finally open. He urges you to pay attention to the signs that will appear around you in the coming hours. A sudden message. A familiar name resurfacing. A memory of someone you had forgotten. A strange sense of clarity. A shift in atmosphere. All of these are confirmations that the revealing has begun. And when the moment comes to open the message, whether physical, digital, or spiritual, your inner knowing will recognize it instantly. Archangel Michael leans closer and whispers a warning. Do not allow fear to distort what is meant to free you. The truth may be surprising. The sender may be unexpected. The information may shake old beliefs. But the purpose is not to unsettle you. It is to elevate you. What is revealed will release you from a cycle you did not even realize you were trapped in. This inheritance is not only about gaining something. It is about breaking free from what held you back. You have arrived at the threshold of revelation. And what comes next will test your trust, but deepen your purpose. Keep watching, for the next layers will expose the roots behind everything you've been sensing. Before this chapter closes, hear this. The next moment of truth might shift the way you see your entire story. Prepare yourself with courage and clarity. Type "I receive the revelation" in the comments if your spirit is aligned. Blessing code 311 has just been released. Like this message, share it with someone who needs it. Comment to keep this word moving. Hype this moment of truth. And make sure you subscribe so you never miss what heaven is speaking next. There are moments when heaven opens a window for divine partnership, and this is one of them. Just as this inheritance message is awakening long-hidden truths, your support helps awaken souls across the world who are searching for the voice of God and the chaos. When you sow into this mission, you are placing your seed into the river of revelation itself, the same river that is now bringing restoration into your life. And hear this in first person. I am asking you to stand with this work, not for me, but for the countless hearts who will hear God speak because you helped carry the flame forward. The theme of this message is inheritance, and your giving becomes a prophetic act of unlocking inheritance for others as well. Heaven responds quickly to those who move in alignment, and your offering will not return to you empty. To everyone who gives through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, I release a blessing over your life that multiplies in unexpected ways. Step into this moment now, for obedience carries power. My vigilant soul, feel the atmosphere around you for a moment. Something is shifting yet again. Archangel Michael stands firmly at your side now, not as a distant guardian, but as a warrior who is drawn near because the next revelation requires heightened protection. He says that as the truth approaches, truth about your inheritance, truth about the letter, truth about the one who sent it, the spiritual environment becomes sensitive. There are forces that once thrived in the shadows of secrecy, and they do not easily tolerate exposure. But heaven has already declared victory, and this is why you are being guided step by step, layer by layer, into clarity. Michael reveals that your inheritance is not merely a matter of earthly possessions. It is a story woven into your spiritual DNA, designed before you took your first breath. There are blessings tied to your identity that were meant to guide your path, protect your heart, elevate your purpose, and shape your destiny. But these blessings were interrupted, not destroyed, not canceled, but interrupted. And this is where the next piece of the revelation emerges with incredible force. He shows an image of a tangled rope, knots formed by misunderstandings, betrayals, and generational entanglements. This rope represents the timeline of your inheritance. At certain points in your life, tension tightened the knots. Moments of confusion twisted the strands. People you trusted mishandled truths that were sacred. Michael says someone in your past made a choice that created a spiritual knot around what belonged to you. They did not recognize the impact of their decision. They believed the truth would remain hidden. But heaven recorded everything, and now that the hour has come for revelation, those knots must be undone. Michael begins to untangle each knot with care. He says the first knot formed when someone close to your lineage concealed information about your family, your name, or your rightful portion. They believed silence would protect themselves, or protect others, or preserve an illusion of harmony. But their silence created imbalance. It created spiritual weight that fell onto your shoulders without you ever knowing why. You carried burdens that were never meant for you. You fought battles that originated in the choices of others. The second knot formed through delay, years of hesitation, avoidance, fear of confrontation, or fear of truth. The person connected to your inheritance avoided responsibility, believing time would erase the need for revelation. But heaven does not forget. Timing belongs to God, and delay cannot override divine intention. Michael says this is the knot being undone right now. The hesitation has ended because heaven has pressed upon the one who carries the message. They can no longer hold back what they know. They can no longer silence the truth. A divine push is driving them toward you, compelling them to act. The third knot formed when darkness attempted to distort your perception of yourself. At certain moments in your journey, you questioned your worth, your direction, your purpose. You felt undeserving, unseen, or unprepared. These thoughts were not born from your spirit, but were whispered into your path to weaken your connection to destiny. If you believed you had no inheritance, you would never search for it. If you believed nothing belonged to you, you would never claim what heaven wrote in your name. But Archangel Michael is breaking this knot with authority. He speaks boldly. You are worthy of what is coming. You are prepared for what is coming. You are chosen for what is coming. Then Michael reveals something unexpected. The letter arriving for you, whether physical or symbolic, carries not only information, but confession. The sender has been battling their conscience. They have tried to move on from the truth, but heaven reopened the memory. They have tried to justify their silence, but their heart cannot rest. They have tried to ignore the prompting, but the spiritual pressure is too heavy now. They are being guided, even pushed, to release what they have held for far too long. You may feel surprised, even shaken, when you discover who this person is. It may be someone you never imagined would step back into your life. Someone who once distanced themselves. Someone who once acted indifferent. Someone who once seemed unaffected by what happened. Yet heaven uses precisely these unlikely vessels, so you never mistake the revelation for coincidence. Divine timing works through human hands. Michael says the message they send will contain layers. The first layer is truth. The second is exposure. The third is restoration. But the fourth is something deeper. Freedom. Freedom for you and freedom for them. Sometimes the truth liberates both the one who receives it and the one who releases it. As the countdown continues in the spirit, Michael instructs you to strengthen your heart. Not because danger is near, but because clarity is near. He says clarity can feel overwhelming when you have lived for years without the full picture. Understanding can feel like a wave crashing into your life all at once. But heaven is preparing your spirit so the revelation does not shake you. It elevates you. He steps closer and places a shield of light around you. This shield ensures that when the truth comes, no emotional turmoil, no confusion, and no old memory can overpower your spirit. You are protected on every side. And now, he whispers something that marks a turning point. You are closer to receiving than you have ever been. The truth is approaching with unstoppable force. Hold on to that. Because once the next layer unfolds, the identity of the sender will begin to make sense in ways you never expected. There is more to this connection than you realize. There is a deeper story beneath the surface. Keep your spirit steady, because what comes next reaches into the very foundation of your destiny. Type "I welcome the truth" in the comments if your spirit is open. Blessing code 422 is now activated. My steadfast soul, breathe deeply now, because Archangel Michael steps forward with a revelation heavier than anything he has spoken before. The spiritual air around you thickens, not with fear, but with intensity. It is the kind of weight that appears when the truth is no longer approaching. It is arriving. Michael stands tall beside you, his sword lowered but glowing, signaling that the next unveiling concerns something deeply personal, perhaps even painful, yet absolutely necessary for your elevation. He says you have reached a threshold of a moment that has been forming for years, and heaven is preparing you to face the truth without trembling. Michael begins by revealing that your inheritance has always been larger than you realized. Not only in measure, but in meaning. It contains fragments of your identity that were scattered through experiences, relationships, decisions, and generational events. This inheritance holds spiritual authority, creative power, emotional restoration, financial blessing, and generational correction. But what makes it so powerful is also what made it targeted. Darkness fights hardest for what carries divine purpose. And because your inheritance holds generational weight, someone attempted to alter its path long before it reached you. Michael shows an image of two timelines, one representing what should have happened, and the other showing what actually unfolded. In the original timeline, the truth about your inheritance would have reached you earlier in life. The sender would have stepped forward sooner. The blessings meant for you would have flowed with more ease. But in the timeline you experienced, resistance arose. Choices were made. Fear overshadowed truth. Silence settled where revelation should have lived. He says the divergence between these timelines created an invisible tension you have felt without understanding it. A sense of waiting without knowing why. A sense of longing without knowing what for. A sense of being held back by something you could not name. This tension is the very thing the letter will resolve. Michael reveals that the person sending this message once stood at a crossroads. They had the opportunity to act with integrity, to speak truth, to protect what was meant for you. But instead of choosing courage, they chose comfort. Instead of stepping into responsibility, they stepped away. Their decision was shaped not by malice, but by fear. Fear of conflict, fear of consequences, fear of disrupting the fragile balance of their own life. They believed silence would bring peace. But silence created chaos instead. This is why the message they are sending now carries a sense of confession. It is not simply information. It is an admission. It is a release of something heavy they have carried for too long. Michael says this weight has been pressing on their heart, their mind, even their sleep. They have been awakened at night by thoughts they tried to avoid. They have felt nudges of conviction they tried to ignore. But heaven has been steadily intensifying its pull on them, bringing them to a point where they cannot continue forward without revealing what they know. Heaven is compelling their honesty because the truth is overdue. Michael then reveals something that may surprise you. The shocking part of this inheritance is not only its content, but the reason it was hidden. The person who withheld it believed that revealing it too soon would overwhelm you. They feared you were too vulnerable then, too trusting, too influenced by others, or too uncertain of your path. They thought they were protecting you. But in attempting to shield you, they unintentionally deprived you of something that belonged to you. And now, that misplaced protection must be corrected. Michael shows a vision of threads being pulled gently from a tightly woven fabric. These threads represent misunderstandings, lies by omission, incomplete truths, and distorted stories. As each thread is removed, clarity emerges. This is what the letter will do. It will unravel the old narrative and reveal the true one beneath it. You will see your past differently. You will see your name differently. You will see certain people differently. And you will understand why certain battles felt heavier than others. The Archangel's tone deepens as he reveals another truth. The inheritance you are receiving is not just restoration, it is recalibration. Heaven is correcting your life's trajectory, bringing you back into alignment with what was originally written for you. When the message arrives, you may feel a sudden surge of understanding, as if pieces of your life that once felt scattered suddenly fall into place. Memories will make sense. Patterns will make sense. Losses will make sense. You will realize that nothing was random, even when it felt unfair. Michael steps closer, his wings arching protectively around you as he continues. He warns that when the truth is revealed, you must allow yourself to feel the emotions that come. Do not suppress them. Do not judge them. Truth can shake the surface before it strengthens the foundation. But he promises that what follows the emotional wave is clarity, empowerment, and closure. You will finally know what happened, why it happened, and who was involved. Heaven is preparing you not just to receive the truth, but to stand in it with strength. And then, he whispers the part that sends ripples through your spirit. This layer will change the way you see your destiny. It will show you how deeply heaven has been involved in your story, even when people were not. The person sending this message may not fully understand why they feel such urgency. They may not grasp the spiritual significance of their action. But heaven does. Their role is being activated because your season of waiting has ended. The inheritance that was spiritually written in your name is returning, and nothing can stop its arrival now. As this chapter draws to a close, sense the shifting within yourself. You are preparing for recognition. You are preparing for revelation. You are preparing for release. Stay with the unfolding. The next layer will pull back the curtain even further. Type "I claim my destiny" in the comments if your heart is prepared. Blessing code 515 has now been released. My courageous spirit, steady yourself now, because Archangel Michael is ready to unveil a deeper layer, one that reaches into the hidden chambers of your past, your lineage, and the silent battles that shaped your path without your knowledge. His presence grows stronger, the atmosphere thickening with purpose. Every shift in the spiritual air signals that what once remained concealed is now pressing against the edge of revelation. Michael speaks with a calm authority, reminding you that the message about your inheritance, the one said to arrive within these divinely marked hours, carries more than shocking news. It carries resolution. And resolution always comes with a story heaven wants you to understand. He begins by showing the image of a sealed archive, an ancient chest locked with symbols of time and truth. This archive represents the history behind your inheritance, events, decisions, agreements, and spiritual alignments that were made long before the moment you are living. He says a portion of your life has been influenced by stories you were never told, by secrets that were never spoken aloud, and by choices you never had the chance to question. These unspoken fragments created shadows around your destiny, causing you to experience moments of confusion that seemed to appear without reason. You were sensing the unseen weight of what was withheld from you. Michael reveals that the person sending the message, the one who holds the key to your inheritance, did not stumble into that role. Heaven assigned them to carry a truth you would one day need. But humans are complex, shaped by fear, expectation, pressure, and influence. The sender once faced a moment where telling the truth would have shifted everything, but doing so felt dangerous to them. They feared backlash. They feared blame. They feared losing something they valued. And so, instead of revealing the truth, they tucked it away into silence. This silence did not just affect your timeline, it affected theirs. The longer they hid the truth, the heavier the spiritual weight became. Michael says there were nights when their conscience stirred, mornings when their chest tightened with unspoken guilt, afternoons when memories resurfaced uninvited. Yet still, they resisted. But heaven does not allow the truth to remain buried forever. When a blessing has your name written on it, it does not matter who hides it, delays it, or mishandles it. It will circle back to you when the appointed hour strikes. And that hour is now approaching with unstoppable force. Michael explains that the letter contains more than information. It holds a pivot point, a turning of the wheel, a resetting of what went off course. He says you are stepping into a moment where hidden things will break open, not to harm you, but to heal you. The sender's confession is not meant to wound you. It is meant to free you from a tangled narrative you were never meant to inherit. The shocking part is not only the content of the message, but the realization that someone you once trusted, or once dismissed, or once overlooked, has been carrying a part of your destiny all along. He shows a vision of you walking forward with a chain attached to your ankle. The chain does not stop your movement, but it slows it. It tugs at you during certain seasons, causes you to pause during moments that should have flowed easily, and makes you second-guess opportunities that should have been effortless. This chain represents the spiritual delay caused by withheld truth. The moment the letter reaches you, the chain breaks. Not gradually, but instantly. The revelation acts like a key unlocking the final link. Michael says this key is not merely symbolic. Something in your external life will shift the moment the truth is revealed. A door will open. A person will reappear. A decision will be made with clarity you did not have before. Momentum will begin to move with supernatural acceleration, because delays cannot hold you anymore. The forces that once resisted your inheritance have weakened. Their grip has loosened. Their influence has expired. Heaven is reclaiming what belongs to you. Then Michael reveals something even more profound. The sender of the message has been encountering divine pressure. They may not fully understand why they feel compelled to reach out now. They may have resisted for years. They may have tried to bury the truth beneath distraction, denial, or distance. But the hand of God has been pressing on their heart with increasing intensity, awakening a sense of responsibility they can no longer ignore. They are being spiritually pushed into honesty, not to expose themselves, but to release you. This is why their message carries urgency. It is the final release of a story that has been locked away. A truth that has been circling your life like a silent storm, waiting for the perfect moment to break. Michael steps even closer now, and his voice becomes both warning and comfort. He says the truth may stir old emotions when it arrives. It may awaken memories, questions, or realizations that shift your perspective. But do not fear these emotions. They are not meant to destabilize you. They are meant to clear the fog that once clouded your path. You will see more clearly after this revelation than you have in years. You will understand yourself in ways you never have before. You will gain insight into why certain struggles felt so heavy and why certain blessings seemed delayed. And then he speaks words that feel like fire moving through your spirit. This inheritance is not arriving to remind you of your past. It is arriving to launch you into your future. Heaven is not giving you something old. It is giving you something renewed, something restored, something elevated, something purified through divine timing. Then Michael extends his hand, and a stream of light flows toward you, representing preparation. He is strengthening your spirit so the truth does not overwhelm you, but empowers you. He says the cunning revelation will not break you. It will unburden you. It will not confuse you. It will align you. It will not hurt your future. It will secure it. You are entering the moment where destiny meets clarity. Hold steady now. The next unveiling will reveal the intention behind everything that was hidden. Type "I stand in my purpose" in the comments if your spirit is open. Blessing code 606 is now activated. My rising spirit, center yourself now, because Archangel Michael steps forward with a revelation that pierces deeper than anything spoken so far. There is a stirring in the unseen, subtle, undeniable, almost electric. It is the sensation that comes when hidden truth is no longer content to wait in silence. Michael's presence intensifies around you, creating a shield of divine light as he prepares to expose the underlying force behind the inheritance you are about to receive. He says the reason this message is urgent, the reason the heavens marked a countdown, the reason your spirit feels stretched between anticipation and uncertainty, is because what is approaching you is not only a revelation, it is a realignment of destiny. Michael reveals that your inheritance became entangled not by accident, but because of a spiritual misalignment that occurred long ago. Someone connected to your lineage or your personal journey made a decision that shifted the flow of blessings. They did not do it with malicious intent, but with misunderstanding and fear. They thought they were protecting you or protecting themselves from past mistakes. But in doing so, they created a fracture in the timeline of your blessings. What was meant to reach you directly took a detour, moving through hands and hearts unprepared to carry it. This detour created spiritual interference around your destiny, and heaven has been working tirelessly to correct that path. Michael says the person sending the message is someone who once stood at the crossroads of truth and silence. Their silence became a barrier in your story. But what they did not realize was that heaven never surrenders a blessing assigned to a chosen one. So while they withheld truth, heaven began rearranging circumstances, aligning events, and reshaping their conscience until the moment would come when they could no longer resist revealing what they know. That moment is now. The pressure they feel, the urgency, the spiritual nudges, the unexpected clarity, comes from the weight of heaven's hand upon them. He shows an image of a scale. On one side rests the truth they have kept hidden. On the other side rests the guilt, the memories, the internal conflict they have been carrying. The scale has tipped. Their inner world can no longer hold the imbalance. The truth must come out. Michael says this truth is not meant to break you or burden you, but to restore the balance that was lost. It is meant to bring justice to your journey and peace to your soul. There is a deeper layer now being unveiled. Michael says your inheritance has been watched over by the heavens more closely than you ever imagined. Even when humans faltered, angels intervened. Even when choices caused delay, divine protection ensured nothing was permanently removed from your destiny. You have felt moments in your life where something seemed to hover on the edge of breakthrough, but never fully materialized. That sensation was the inheritance trying to reach you before the appointed season. But heaven refused to let it arrive prematurely. If it had reached you too soon, it would have arrived with confusion, with incomplete truth, with unresolved emotions. You needed time to grow into clarity, strength, and spiritual maturity. And now that you have, the inheritance can finally reveal itself. Michael turns your attention to the emotional undercurrent of the revelation. He says the truth may cause you to revisit memories you thought were resolved. It may reawaken questions you once buried. It may reveal perspectives you never considered. But he urges you not to fear this emotional resurfacing. It is part of the healing process. The truth does not return to wound you. It returns to set you free. It returns to complete the story you were never given the chance to understand. And as each emotion rises, Michael stands ready to guard your heart so clarity, not confusion, becomes your anchor. He reveals something powerful now. The inheritance holds not only what was withheld, but what heaven multiplied during the years of delay. Because you waited, because you endured seasons of uncertainty, because your spirit remained open despite the shadows, heaven added increase to your portion. What is being returned to you is greater than what was originally delayed. This is divine recompense, the restoration that only heaven can produce. Michael says, you are not receiving what you lost. You are receiving what has been transformed. Then he shifts his attention to the sender once more. This person is experiencing a spiritual confrontation within themselves. They are coming face to face with the truth they once avoided. Their confession is not only to release you, it is to release themselves from the emotional weight they have carried for years. Heaven is using them, even in their imperfect state, because their participation completes the divine cycle. Without their message, the revelation would be missing a piece. Without their voice, the story would feel unfinished. Their involvement is necessary to bring closure to the old timeline and activate the new one. Michael steps even closer now, surrounding you with a radiant field of light. He says the revelation approaching you will not only shift your understanding, it will shift your atmosphere. The energy around you will feel lighter, clearer, more aligned. You will feel a new sense of direction, as if a fog you did not realize was present suddenly lifts. People connected to your destiny will begin to appear. Opportunities that once eluded you will open. and guidance will come to you with unusual clarity. This inheritance is not an endpoint. It is the ignition of a new season. Heaven is preparing your spirit to receive without fear, to process without overwhelm, and to rise without hesitation. You are stepping into a divine unveiling orchestrated with precision, compassion, and power. What comes next will touch the heart of the story. The reason the message is arriving now will soon become unmistakably clear. Type "I rise into my truth" in the comments if your heart is ready. Blessing code 717 is now activated. My illuminated soul, draw near now, for Archangel Michael steps forth with a revelation that pierces through the deepest layers of your destiny. His presence surrounds you with a protective stillness, the kind that falls just before something long buried rises into the light. He says the moment you heard the words about the shocking letter tied to your inheritance, the spiritual world began rearranging itself. Old energies shifted. Hidden memories stirred. Doors that were sealed by silence began to tremble. And now, you stand at the edge of a truth that is ready to reveal why everything in your life has unfolded the way it has. Michael reveals that the inheritance you are about to learn of carries a spiritual signature much older than your current circumstances. It is connected to your lineage, your identity, and even the emotional battles you have fought without understanding their origin. There are patterns in your life you did not choose, patterns you stepped into because of decisions made long before you were aware enough to question them. These patterns shaped your relationships, your sense of worth, your opportunities, and even the weight you sometimes felt in your spirit. You thought these burdens were random, but Michael says they were connected to the very inheritance that was kept from you. He shows a vision of a long hallway filled with doors. Some doors represent blessings that were delayed. Some represent truths that were withheld. Some represent emotional wounds that formed when clarity should have been given to you, but was not. And at the end of this hallway is a single door glowing with divine light. This is the door the letter is about to unlock. What it contains will not simply answer questions. It will dissolve confusion. It will repair misunderstandings. It will restore what was removed from your reach. Michael now shifts his focus to the center of the message. He says this person stands under a heavy spiritual spotlight at this very moment. Heaven is confronting them gently but firmly, reminding them that their time of silence has expired. They once convinced themselves that withholding the truth was a form of protection. They believed revealing the full story might cause conflict or emotional disruption. They thought time would soften or erase what needed to be spoken. But heaven does not let truth fade. It may sleep, but it never dies. And now it has awakened. The sender feels an inner pressure that grows stronger by the day. Thoughts of you come unexpectedly. Memories resurface. Dreams repeat themselves. They are being spiritually summoned to do what they should have done long ago. Release what they have been holding. Their message is not just a revelation. It is a turning point. It is the moment when the old story ends and the new chapter begins. Michael explains that the inheritance has been preserved by divine intervention. Even though someone delayed it, heaven ensured it was never lost. Angels have guarded its spiritual essence, preventing any interference from altering its purpose. Every season of waiting added strength to what is now returning. Every tear you shed watered the ground of your breakthrough. Every setback carved the depths needed to hold the blessing about to pour into your life. He now reveals something striking. The reason the letter's arrival feels urgent is because your spirit has entered a window of divine alignment. There are seasons when heaven opens a gate, allowing what was tangled to become untangled, what was delayed to accelerate, and what was hidden to be exposed with clarity. You are standing in such a window right now. Michael warns that ignoring this moment would cause spiritual tension because your soul has already recognized the truth approaching. This is why your emotions have felt unusual lately. This is why your thoughts have been racing. This is why certain memories have resurfaced out of nowhere. It is all part of the preparation. Michael leans closer and reveals that the inheritance carries emotional weight not only for you, but also for the sender. They will feel relief the moment they release their message because it frees them from a spiritual burden they did not know how to carry. Yet he makes something very clear. This revelation is not about their healing. It is about your rising. Heaven is prioritizing your destiny in this moment. You are the one being repositioned. You are the one being restored. You are the one stepping out of the shadow and into the clarity that was long overdue. He shows a vision of you standing in front of a large mirror. But instead of your reflection, you see pieces of yourself scattered like fragments. These fragments represent parts of your story left blank by withheld truth, questions you asked yourself, choices affected by uncertainty, dreams you postponed because you lacked the information that belonged to you. And as the letter approaches, the fragments begin to pull together, forming a complete image. For the first time, you will see yourself clearly. The truth will not simply inform you, it will transform you. Michael says the letter's arrival will begin a cascade of shifts. People who once distanced themselves may reappear. Opportunities you lost hope in may reopen. Conversations that were impossible may suddenly become necessary. And perhaps, most significantly, your sense of direction will sharpen. You will feel guided, supported, expanded, empowered. This is the nature of inheritance. It restores what was taken and multiplies what remained. He reminds you that heaven is not using this revelation to unsettle you, but to position you. Your soul is stepping into a divine assignment that required truth as its foundation. And now that truth is finally on its way. Stay close to this message, because the next unveiling will reveal the motive behind the silence and why heaven chose this exact moment to break it. Type "I step into alignment" in the comments if your spirit is ready. Blessing code 818 has now been activated. Like, share, comment, hype this message, and subscribe so this divine word continues reaching every soul who needs it. There are moments when heaven calls people to rise, not just in receiving but in giving, sowing, uplifting, and standing side by side with a mission bigger than all of us. Just as this message unlocks inheritance for you, your support unlocks spiritual clarity for others searching in darkness. In the language of Scripture, every seed becomes a river that waters barren places, and I speak this in first person. I invite you to partner with what God is doing here. The same theme of revelation and inheritance flows through your giving, turning it into a prophetic act. Heaven moves swiftly toward those who sow into divine purpose, and your offering carries the fragrance of obedience. To everyone who supports through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, I speak multiplied grace and overflowing breakthrough into your life. Step into this moment with faith, for heaven opens to those who move when God calls. My enduring spirit, steady your heart once more, for Archangel Michael moves toward you with a revelation that deepens the story in a way you may have felt in your bones long before hearing these words. His presence is heavier now, not in burden, but in significance. He says you are entering the stage where the truth stops whispering and begins to speak. This is the moment where the hidden motive behind the silence, the delay, and the withheld inheritance is brought into the light, not to ignite anger, but to bring clarity and closure. Heaven wants your heart to understand what happened so the next part of your destiny can unfold without distortion. Michael begins by revealing something that hums through the spiritual atmosphere. The person sending the message did not simply withhold truth out of fear alone. Fear was one layer, but beneath it lay something deeper, more complex, and more emotionally tangled. This inheritance, whatever its form, came with responsibility. The sender felt unprepared to handle its implications. They felt the weight of expectation pressing on their shoulders, and they believed revealing the truth would unravel parts of their own life they were not ready to examine. So instead of confronting their responsibility, they attempted to contain it. Silence became their shelter. Michael shows the image of a person standing in a dimly lit room, holding a box tightly against their chest. The box contains documents, memories, truths, emotions, and obligations. Every time they considered opening the box, a wave of anxiety pressed against them. They felt unworthy. They felt overwhelmed. They feared what this truth might expose, not only to you, but to themselves. And so, they held onto the box for years, hoping the need to reveal it would fade with time. But heaven does not allow truth to dissolve. What is divinely assigned will always rise again. Michael says the sender's silence created a ripple effect across your life. You felt it in moments of uncertainty. You sensed it in times when blessings seemed close but not yet attainable. You carried questions you could not articulate because the missing information lived in that box, trapped beneath someone else's fear. And heaven watched this quietly, not in judgment, but in timing. Heaven waited for the moment when both you and the sender would be ready for the truth to surface. Now that moment has arrived. He continues by explaining something profound. This inheritance affects your identity more than your circumstances. It connects to your sense of belonging, your personal history, and your understanding of who you are within the larger story of your lineage. The withheld truth may explain why certain relationships felt strained, why certain emotions resurfaced unexpectedly, or why certain chapters of your life felt incomplete. You are living with pieces of your story missing, like reading a book with entire pages torn out. And your heart sensed the gaps even when you could not name them. Michael leans in and says the revelation coming will not only fill those missing pages, it will rewrite the emotional tone of your past. Some things you thought were your fault were never yours to carry. Some burdens you assumed were your responsibility originated from decisions made long before you had the chance to speak. You will finally understand why certain paths closed, why certain people behaved the way they did, and why certain blessings could not reach you sooner. This understanding will not break you. It will restore you. Then he reveals something even more intricate. The inheritance was spiritually protected because it was always meant for you. But heaven allowed the delay because the truth carried lessons you needed to grow into. If the message had arrived earlier, you might have misunderstood its purpose. You might have reacted from pain instead of clarity. You might have seen the sender as an adversary instead of a flawed human navigating their own tangled story. But now, your spirit has matured. You are capable of receiving the truth with wisdom rather than emotional collapse. Michael shows another vision, the sender standing at a crossroads once again, but this time, the light of heaven illuminates their path. The pressure they feel is not punishment, it is grace. Heaven is giving them the courage to finally open the box. As they prepare to send the message, the weight lifts slowly from their heart. They are not only releasing the truth to you, they are releasing themselves from a burden they were never meant to carry alone. And now Michael turns his attention fully to you. He says your spirit is entering alignment with a truth that will unlock your next elevation. He urges you to remain open, because the emotional impact of this message may be strong, but it will not destabilize you. It will clarify you. It will sharpen you. It will break the invisible chains that have tied parts of your destiny to someone else's silence. Heaven is preparing to show you that your life has always been guided, even when the path felt uncertain. The delays did not diminish your destiny. They strengthened it. The silence did not steal your blessing. It refined it. And the truth, now coming to you, will mark the beginning of a new era, one where clarity becomes your compass and freedom becomes your foundation. Michael's final whisper for this moment is gentle yet powerful. Prepare your heart. This truth will not wound you. It will awaken you. Hold on to these words. The next unveiling will bring you closer to the full picture, and your spirit will recognize the meaning instantly. Type "I embrace my awakening" in the comments if your heart is open. Blessing code 909 has now been activated. My seeking soul, come closer now, for Archangel Michael steps forth with a revelation that reaches into the very roots of your story. His presence surrounds you like a radiant veil, steadying your heart as the layers of truth grow deeper, sharper, and more transformative. He says this is the moment where the unseen threads that tie your past to your future begin to reveal themselves. You have walked through the earlier stages of this message with courage, absorbing the weight of what has been hidden, understanding the emotional complexity behind the silence, and preparing your spirit for what must finally be faced. But now, Michael says, you are entering the chamber of truth, where motives, intentions, divine timings, and earthly mistakes all converge into one clear revelation. He begins by showing you an image, a tapestry woven with gold, silver, and strands of shadow. This tapestry represents your life's journey. The golden threads symbolize blessings, favor, destiny, and divine protection. The silver threads represent lessons, growth, wisdom, and clarity gained over time. The darker threads represent hidden influences, withheld truths, and misunderstandings that shaped your path without your awareness. Michael says this tapestry has always been beautiful, but until now, you have only seen it from the side where the knots and the loose ends are visible. You saw confusion where heaven saw complexity. You saw delays where heaven saw preparation. You saw emptiness where heaven was quietly forming divine fullness. Now, for the first time, you are being invited to turn the tapestry around, to see the masterpiece from heaven's perspective. Michael reveals that the inheritance you are about to receive is deeply tied to the shadowed threads in your story. It explains the unexplained. It clarifies the confusing. It reveals why your spirit has always been drawn towards something greater, even when you had no words for the longing. The silence surrounding your inheritance was not only the sender's doing, it was also a spiritual strategy that heaven allowed temporarily. Certain truths had to remain quiet until your spirit reached the maturity needed to handle the weight of revelation without losing direction. He says the sender of this message was not merely withholding information. They were wrestling with a conflict inside themselves, a storm of emotions and responsibilities they did not know how to navigate. Some part of them wanted to protect you. Another part feared the consequences of honesty, and yet another part hoped time would resolve what truth alone could heal. Their silence became a barrier not only between you and your inheritance, but also between you and parts of your own identity. You were walking through life carrying questions that did not belong to you, doubts planted by circumstances outside your control, and burdens inherited from choices that were never yours. But Michael leans in closer and says something profound. The truth coming to you will not simply explain your past, it will free your future. He shows another vision, this one clearer and more symbolic. You stand at the center of a circle, with 12 doors surrounding you. Each door represents a possible path your life could have taken. Some doors glow brightly, others remain dim. A withheld inheritance kept you standing before those doors without knowing which one was truly yours. You moved, but cautiously. You dreamed, but with uncertainty. You hoped, but with hesitation. And now, as the revelation draws near, one of those doors begins to shine brighter than the rest. This is the door heaven intends for you to walk through, the path your inheritance will unlock. Michael explains that your destiny was never lost. It was waiting. It waited through seasons of confusion. It waited through emotional battles. It waited through disappointments. And it waited through silence. Because things that belong to you in the spirit cannot be stolen. They can only be delayed until the appointed moment. He then shifts attention to the internal transformation happening within you right now. The spiritual preparation you have undergone through each part of this revelation has strengthened your ability to receive truth without collapsing under its weight. You are being positioned to receive not only shocking information, but also profound healing. He says your heart is stronger now, your discernment sharper, your intuition awakened. What once would have overwhelmed you will now empower you. What once would have confused you will now clarify you. Michael speaks with a solemn tone as he reveals another hidden layer. The message you are about to receive carries a dual purpose. It not only unlocks what was withheld, it also exposes what was manipulated, misunderstood, or misremembered. There may have been stories told without full context, events interpreted without truth, or decisions made under the influence of fear rather than wisdom. This inheritance will correct the narrative. It will bring fairness to places where judgment was clouded. It will bring closure to emotional wounds you learned to live with, because you never knew their origin. Heaven does not reveal truth merely for information. It reveals truth for transformation. Now Michael steps forward with a protective posture, wings arching around you. He says the revelation coming is powerful, but it will not harm you. It will elevate you. It will cleanse you of lingering confusion. It will create space within you for blessings that have been waiting to enter. It will wipe away emotional fog and make room for spiritual clarity. This revelation marks the moment when heaven redirects your path toward greater alignment, greater peace, and greater purpose. He whispers softly in your spirit, you are closer to understanding everything than you realize. You may feel anticipation rising, almost as if the truth is standing outside the door of your life, preparing to knock. That sensation is not your imagination. It is alignment. Heaven is moving. The sender is awakening. The inheritance is nearing. And your spirit is stepping into a state of readiness. Michael concludes with a message that carries the weight of certainty. Prepare yourself. The next unveiling will bring the truth into full form. You will recognize it instantly, and your heart will know this was the moment heaven had been preparing you for. Hold on to this truth, for the next revelation will illuminate the very center of the mystery. Type "I'm ready" for the full revealing in the comments if your spirit agrees. Blessing code 1001 has now been released. My distant soul, breathe deeply now, for Archangel Michael steps forward with a gravity that signals you have reached the threshold of the greatest unveiling yet. His presence feels almost electric, as though the air around you is charged with the energy of truth pressing against the final veil. He says you have walked through every preceding layer with courage, and now the heart of the matter stands before you. The truth behind your inheritance, the one spoken of in the shocking message that draws nearer by the moment, is ready to be revealed in a way that connects every thread, every delay, every unanswered question that has lived quietly in the corners of your life. Michael reveals that your story has always been guided, even during the moments when you felt abandoned by clarity. He shows you a vision of a path illuminated in sections. Some portions glow brightly, others flicker, and some remain dim. These dim sections represent the years when you walked forward without the truth you deserved, when you made decisions based on partial information, when you sensed something missing but could not identify what it was. Heaven watched you navigate those dim spaces with resilience, and because of that, the inheritance now returning to you carries not only restoration, but divine honor. You are being elevated not just because something was withheld, but because you continued onward in spite of the absence. Michael begins to unveil the center of the mystery. He says the reason this inheritance was kept from you runs deeper than fear or hesitation. The sender did not simply fear confrontation or consequences. They feared the truth itself. The truth holds power, and they felt unprepared for what revealing it would shift. This inheritance carries emotional implications, relational implications, and even spiritual implications. To bring it into the open meant rewriting how certain people were seen, how certain stories were told, and how certain relationships were understood. The sender believed the world built around the silence was more stable than the world that would follow the truth. But heaven does not build on silence. Heaven builds on truth. And truth always finds its way back to the one it belongs to. Michael shows another vision, a map with several lines drawn across it, each representing a potential path for your life. Some lines curve gently, others sharply, and some extend far into the distance. He says the withheld inheritance altered your routes, but not your destination. You may have walked longer roads, faced harder battles, or carried heavier emotional weights than you were meant to. Yet heaven compensated for every detour. Angels were assigned to walk with you in places where clarity was lacking. Divine protection increased in seasons where you were vulnerable. Strength grew in you where it might not have been required had the truth been revealed earlier. This is why Michael says your inheritance returns not in its original form, but in its multiplied form. Heaven adds increase where humans added delay. He turns your attention now to the emotional heartbeat of this revelation. When the message arrives, whether as a letter, a conversation, a confession, a document, or an unexpected communication, you will feel something shift almost instantly. Your spirit will recognize it before your mind fully processes it. This is because your deeper self has always known the truth was out there. You felt it in moments of intuition. You sensed it during unexplained heaviness. You tasted it in fleeting glimpses of clarity that seemed to appear and vanish without reason. Your spirit has been echoing the truth long before your natural senses were able to grasp it. Michael says the revelation will clarify the emotional landscape of your past. Certain reactions you had will make sense. Certain relationships will reveal their true purpose. Certain disappointments will take on a new meaning. You will understand why some people behaved as they did, why certain connections faded, and why your heart carried an ache that did not match your experiences. This inheritance is not only about receiving something, it is about understanding yourself in ways you were never given the chance to before. Heaven is preparing your heart to receive this clarity without being overwhelmed. Michael extends his hand in your direction, and you feel a warmth around your chest, the strengthening of your emotional foundation. He says the truth coming to you has been softened by divine timing. What might have wounded you years ago will now free you. What might have confused you earlier in life will now enlighten you. What might have broken your confidence then will now build your identity. Heaven waited until the revelation would lift you, not crush you. Now Michael reveals something that strikes deeply. The truth behind your inheritance involves someone who once walked close to you or close to your lineage. Their silence shaped you. Their fear affected you. Their choices intersected with your destiny. And though they did not intend to harm you, their inaction created an emotional vacuum that rippled through your life. The moment this message reaches you, That vacuum collapses. You will no longer carry the weight of a story that was incomplete. Michael's eyes burn with certainty as he says, "You are approaching the moment your story becomes whole." The sender is nearing the point of release. Their spirit feels compelled, pressured, guided. Their conscience is awakening. Their inner world is shifting in ways they can no longer ignore. Heaven is surrounding them with signs, dreams, and emotional urges that push them toward honesty. They may not fully understand why now is the moment, but heaven does. The divine clock has struck the hour of unveiling. Michael reminds you that when truth arrives, it brings both revelation and responsibility. You will be invited to step into a new chapter with confidence, wisdom, and spiritual authority. This inheritance has been waiting for you on the other side of understanding. Once you receive it, the landscape of your future will shift dramatically. Doors will open, clarity will flow, and opportunities will align. He whispers now with a voice that feels like fire and reassurance combined. Prepare yourself. What comes next completes the story. The full truth is almost in your hands. Hold on to this moment. The next revelation is the one that breaks the final seal. Type "I am ready for completion" in the comments if your spirit aligns with this truth. Blessing code 1112 has now been activated. My chosen soul, stand still for a moment, because Archangel Michael moves toward you now with the authority of final revelation. His presence arrives like a wave of thunder wrapped in stillness, announcing that the cycle of silence, delay, uncertainty, and spiritual tension has reached its end. This is the hour heaven prepared you for, the moment when everything hidden begins to take form, when everything withheld begins to return, and when everything unanswered begins to speak. Michael says the message about your inheritance, the one announced with urgency, the one carried through layers of divine timing, is no longer approaching. It is here. Its energy touches the edge of your life, even now, stirring recognition in your spirit before your mind can fully grasp what is happening. He begins by showing a final vision, a sealed envelope resting on a table of light. You are standing before it, not with fear, but with strength. This envelope represents the truth, the inheritance, the confession, the story, the identity, and the justice that were withheld from you for far too long. Michael says this envelope has traveled through years of spiritual warfare, emotional hesitation, generational patterns, and divine protection to reach this exact moment in your life. Nothing about its timing is random. Nothing about its arrival is accidental. Heaven waited until you reached a place of clarity, maturity, and inner stability so that the truth would elevate you instead of shaking you. He explains now what this inheritance truly symbolizes. It is not just material blessing, although it may carry such weight. It is not just emotional healing, though that will surely flow. It is not just relational truth, though clarity will unfold there too. This inheritance is the restoration of identity. It is the returning of something tied to your name, your lineage, your purpose, and your spiritual design. Michael says you were born with a destiny inscribed upon your spirit, a calling that could not be erased, a truth that could not be buried. The withheld inheritance created a gap in your story, but heaven never allowed that gap to become a void. Instead, angels filled the space with protection, wisdom, resilience, and strength. You are not receiving back what was lost. You are receiving back what was transformed by the waiting. Michael reveals that the sender of this message has reached their own breaking point of silence. They stand at the edge of confession, pushed forward by a force they cannot resist. Their heart has shifted. Their conscience has awakened. The weight they once tried to ignore has pressed too heavily on their spirit. They are now compelled to speak, to reveal, to release what should have been yours long ago. They may feel fear, but heaven's hand guides them. They may feel guilt, but heaven's mercy surrounds them. Their message will arrive not as an act of bravery, but as an act of surrender to truth. He warns you that when the inheritance is revealed, you may feel a wave of emotion, relief, disbelief, release, even sorrow for the years lived without the full picture. But these emotions are not signs of instability. They are signs of unfolding. You are stepping into a chapter of clarity that few ever experience. You are receiving pieces of your story that were written in light, but kept in shadow. And as you learn the truth, you will feel a spiritual realignment reshaping you from the inside out. Michael shows another vision. You standing on a mountain top at dawn. Behind you is a valley representing your past, the struggles, the confusion, the unanswered questions, the withheld truths, the waiting seasons. Before you is a rising sun, brilliant and golden, symbolizing your future, clarity, strength, direction, and divine favor. The inheritance you are about to receive serves as the bridge between the valley and the mountain. It completes the story behind you and ignites the path ahead of you. He says that once the message arrives, your life will not move forward in the same rhythm. You will sense new clarity in your decisions. Unexpected opportunities will appear. People who once avoided truth may step forward with honesty. Emotional patterns that once held power over you will lose their influence. Confusion will dissolve. Spiritual fog will lift. You will no longer walk as someone searching for missing pieces. You will walk as someone who carries the whole picture. Archangel Michael's voice deepens as he delivers the final divine decree. Your inheritance has always been yours. No hand could take it. No silence could destroy it. No delay could diminish it. And now, by divine order, it returns to you in fullness. You stand in the moment heaven has prepared for years. The truth will arrive. The story will unfold. The revelation will complete what began long ago. And now Michael blesses your spirit with strength, so that as the truth enters your life, you will rise. Not with heaviness, but with authority. This final seal breaks the cycle. Your new chapter begins now. Type "I receive the full revelation" in the comments if your spirit is ready. Blessing code 1212 is now activated. Like this message, share it with someone who needs clarity. Comment to anchor this word in your spirit. Hype this divine moment. And make sure to subscribe so you never miss what heaven speaks next. There are moments when heaven opens a window so wide that every soul connected to it is invited into sacred partnership. This message about inheritance, restoration, and revelation is not only for you. It is meant to awaken thousands more who are searching for God's voice in their own confusion. And hear this in first person. I invite you now to stand with this mission, not as a spectator, but as a carrier of light. Scripture teaches that when you sow into divine work, you plant seed into the soil of revelation itself. The very theme of this message, inheritance returning, becomes a prophetic echo in your giving. Every offering through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description becomes a torch that helps guide another soul into their moment of truth. For those who step forward, I speak blessing, increase, and open heavens over your life. Move now with faith, for heaven moves toward those who support the work of light with courage and obedience.